guys, welcome back. We just got back from Reno where we had an amazing time. Andrea and I spent 2 days in some intense navigation training, and then we spent 2 more days at Rod Hall Drive, which is an amazing off-road driving school. We had a blast. We learned lots of skills that we need for the rally, but we are realizing that we are down to the wire now. We've only got very short time before this rally starts and then SEMA comes, so we are back in the shop and we've got to get working on this thing.
That's right. We've got maybe 46, 47 days, so we're sort of starting this disassembly process. We've got one deadline, which is we need to get the fenders on and the Highline hood on, which have not come yet, in order to get the thing wrapped. And then we're going to start taking things apart in preparations for things like brakes and bumpers and suspension. We also have some maintenance items to do. We want to go through, do the plugs, check out the coil packs, go through and make sure the oil is good, the coolant system, all of that, cooling system and all that. So we'll be able to do that. One of the first things we're going to do today is she's got a problem with her air conditioning fan, and so rather than freeze to death on the entire rally, we're going to try to get that taken care of. So if you're ready to get started, I am.
I am. Let's do it.
All right.
So a common problem with a lot of Jeeps of this era is that the climate control fan will stop working properly. And on this particular Jeep, it is only working on the 3rd and 4th setting. And so what happens is if we've got the air on, we have to turn it up to the highest levels in order to get cool, which then causes us to freeze, or if the heat's on, we burn up. The most common cause for this is usually a bad fan relay. So we got a new one. We are going to go in there, we're going to replace it, and hopefully that fixes the problem. So to try to figure out where this goes, we can look in the service manual to get a pretty good idea, but sometimes you have to play a little bit of hide and seek and really go searching for it, which was what we had in this case. And luckily, we've got our FlexiGlow LED flashlight from Whistler. This thing is awesome because it bends any way you want, and we're able to just magnetically clip it right outside here to see what we're doing. So according to the service manual, this particular relay is behind the glove compartment in this Jeep. So we took the glove compartment off, as you can see here, and we went searching and found it in this particular Jeep behind the big green connector box. And it's just behind it and down a little ways. So we're going to go and try to get this replaced.
I'm pretty sure that they put this relay in before they put the dash in, so you can take the dash out, but it requires some cursing and
great contortionist skills.
Yeah, contortionist skills to get these out because they're really hard to get to. We ended up just using it's 5/16 with a 1/4-inch ratchet to get these out, but they're a pain in the ass, I'll tell you that right now. So just get prepared for that and prepare yourself to go through it. So we figured out that you have to take the little courtesy light off also, just to give yourself a little bit of room. So I think we've got, what, 4 different bolts. The courtesy light bolt is actually a 1/4-inch. So we got that out. I think it'll come out. You want to see? Pull that out. It has a little fin on it, so you sort of have to pull it out and down to get it out. Looks like that you've got it loose.
There we go.
So she's got it loose, and now we have to disconnect it. We'll reconnect the new one and put it back in.
So we had a really difficult time getting the relay disconnected from the harness. It's got a locking clip, this little red clip. We lifted it up, but we were still having a hard time getting to it, so we ended up taking a screwdriver, inserting it, and kind of holding the little clamp up to release the locking clip more, and then we finally got it to slide out.
So it occurred to me that we have a pretty cool tool for doing exactly what we're doing. So I went and grabbed our Whistler inspection camera, which actually does a lot of different things. I'll show you a close-up in another shot. But basically this has an inspection camera on the end of it with an LED light. It's got a full display. You can also record video and take pictures if you put an SD card in it. And so it's an invaluable tool for seeing into sections like this. And so let me get a shot of that and I'll show you what that looks like. So it probably is a little bit difficult to see, but you can see that Michelle is basically holding that underneath. On the upper left-hand side is going to be the bolt location. You can see the wire bundle coming out of the sensor harness, and she can move that around. So that gives us an idea of what we're looking at. And then if you have 2 people, one can sort of watch it and one can direct the other person. But that's just an awesome thing.
Well, that was a pain in the butt, so I am praying that this actually solved the problem. So we'll put everything else back together and then we'll turn the key on and see if it worked. All right, fingers crossed, let's give it a shot. It's working, woo! So we're going to be replacing the factory hood with a Highline heat reduction hood, and we're also going to be replacing the stock fenders with Highline fenders. So the hood is going to help keep the vehicle cooler as well as make it look a lot cooler, and the fenders are going to give us more clearance when we put on the bigger tires. So let's take this one off. Well, we got all the bolts out and we were getting ready to lift up the hood and take it off when we realized there's a few more important connections under there. So we went back and disconnected the windshield wiper fluid hose and the connection for the underhood light. We got those off, and now I'm going to take off the ground wire. It's bolted into the top here. So I will get that off. All right, well, now let's see if we can get it off in one piece. There we go. We've got her up on the lift now, so it's going to make it easier for us to take the front bumper off. But first, we've got these toe mounts on here because we pull her behind our motorhome. So we're going to take these off first, and then we can get to the bumper. Going opposite directions. Yeah. Sometimes things get really stuck and you need a little bit more power, so I've got the impact wrench out now. Oh, much better. Those toe mounts doubled as the bottom bolts for the bumper, and we've also got some top bolts here that are on the toe hooks. So since we've already got the toe mounts off, I just need to remove the toe hooks, or the bolts at the toe hooks, and then we should be able to remove the whole bumper. So I've got another T55 on my Torx, and I'm actually using a breaker bar because I have a feeling these are going to be on here pretty tight. No, actually it wasn't too bad. I like the breaker bar. So while we were driving training this week, we broke a sway bar link, which isn't real great for the rally, but better to learn now. Normally you'd want to fix that at this point, but we're going to be putting in quick disconnects, so we don't really have to worry about that. In fact, we're just going to go and take the whole sway bar out and get it all cleaned up and put new bushings in, and that way we can just get it all put back together. The impact wrench definitely came in handy. So we've got the final bolt out right here. Okay. Now, just lift it all up. So that gave us more room now so that we can get under the fenders to get those off, and also put on our new grill, which happens to be my favorite part of the Jeep. It's an Angry Birds grill, and it was provided to us by Razor Auto. It's awesome. But I think we'll first go and get these fenders off.
Okay, so basically we're going to remove these fenders because we're going to do Highline fenders, and the idea behind Highline fenders is actually this is going to move this line up, which will then meet that Highline hood. The Highline hood is quite a bit smaller in profile. So the purpose of those is because if you have bigger tires, then you're going to want, and you have a lot of flex, that you don't want to hit those. Really, for these 33s that we're going to put on here to replace these, it's not that crucial, but we wanted that look and we like that look, so we're going to do that, and we'll have big flat fender flares as well. To remove these, basically you've got an inner and outer fender, so the inner fender can be reused with some Highline fender sets. So you just want to see when you get ready to order them what you want and how you're going to do the install. The ones that we've been looking at are basically a full replacement fender, so we'll end up taking and doing new inner fenders and outer fenders, and so we're just going to try to remove all of this stuff. So
we decided it would be easier to pull the tires off first so we could get to the fenders easier. So I got the impact wrench back out and make easy work of this. Well, I think we've pretty much got all the nuts and bolts from underneath. So now we're going to lower her down, and then we got to get the ones from the top that we have to get into the engine bay to reach. So here we go. Well, we're back at it again today and a little bit fresher than we were at the end of yesterday. So we're going to do the rest of the work we need to get ready for the new fenders and hopefully have time to get the back bumper off too.
basically I was reading the instructions for our, what we think we're going to choose is these TNT custom fenders and inner fenders, which are integrated, and they have fender flares and all that, so they're super cool. In their instructions, they basically say remove everything from the engine bay that is connected to the fenders, which is pretty much everything but the engine, and so that's going to be a challenge. You basically have to take some parts off, back on, like the air box, because it won't fit with the new ones, and then everything else just sort of gets laid in the middle of the engine. So there's a lot to disconnect, so we'll get to work and see how it goes.
Oh, there we go.
So,
That's one fender down, one more to go.
and that was a pain, but it all came off. And we don't have to cut the inner fenders, which is in here. The factory and the replacements actually are pretty similar. So we'll have a new inner fender that will go on this, or that will go on the Jeep along with the main fender.
Well, we're pretty much mid-facelift Sugar High, and she's looking a little sad, but you gotta look worse before you start to look better. So that was a lot of work, but we got that all done. So what's next?
Let's head to the back and we'll work on the rear bumper and get that tow bar off, and we'll keep going.
Well, we moved her face, and now we're going to take a little off her behind. So we're going to start by removing the outer bumper, and then we're going to take the hitch off. And these bolts are really rusty, so we are definitely going to be needing the impact wrench this time.
Alright, well unfortunately the impact wrench, we cannot reach this upper bolt. So you have two choices, and we're going to try the easier of those two first. You can actually remove this body bolt First, if you want, and that'll make it easier to get an impact wrench in there with this hitch, sorry. This is an aftermarket hitch, so they installed it however they needed to install it to get it on, and so it does make it a little cumbersome to get to this stuff, but we're going to give the old combination wrench a try, and we'll see whether it'll come off.
Were you talking to me?
So on this other side, there's a little bit more room, so you can sort of compress the body mount bushing and get that in there. So that makes it a little bit easier than what Michelle's having to do, but that's why I have her here, so I don't have to do it.
We've got one more bolt left because I'm underneath here and I know there's going to be a bunch of dirt and gunk that's going to fall in my eyes. I've got the safety glasses on. I've also been wearing ear protection because this thing is loud and I had ringing the first time I tried without them.
And you want a partner in here because if she just takes that bolt out, since that's the last one, there's a chance this might just fall on her head. She's too pretty for that.
Not good.
We went and took all the bolts off of the bumper. I was going to sort of use my persuader to get this off, but what I decided we should just do is because there's a tab here on this bumper that's basically sandwiched between the hitch and the frame, all we need to do is loosen the bolts on either side, and then we can pull this off and then take these bolts off the rest of the way, and then we can get the hitch off. So we'll let Michelle go to work on that, and we'll get it done.
So we took off those 2 hitch bolts, but we found out that there's still 2 more bolts back in here, and in order to get to them easily, we decided we are going to persuade this outer bumper to come off first. So here we go.
So these are the tabs I was talking about. These actually fit underneath the hitch, between the hitch and the frame, and they have some little grommets or little bushings there that hold that in. So, and these are the bolts we need to get to. You could take a combination wrench and try to get all in here, but that was a lot easier to just beat it with a hammer. So,
It's a lot more fun.
yeah, a lot more fun. And there you go. This is the hitch.
Well, we got the fenders and the bumper and the hitch and everything off that we had planned, and we still have some time tonight, so we're going to go ahead and move forward and take some more off. We're going to take off the rear brake lights as well as the spare tire and the spare tire mount, and then we'll have this back end all cleared off.
That's right. Let's get started.
Okay.
So the first thing we need to do to get to these brake lights is just take each cover off, and then we'll look underneath, we'll take the bulbs out, and then there's mounting hardware that's under there. So we're going to end up replacing these with flush mount LEDs and probably a little backup LED as well, so make that back end a little bit cleaner. These are a little bit dated because of the year, and so that'll just give it a nice clean look. Plus it'll be LEDs, which means it'll use less electricity, energy in order to get those lit.
Now get out of my way so I can get to work.
All right. Cool. I think there's bulbs in there now too.
So how do you like working on something like this compared to something like a Cobra?
I like the Cobra better because it's clean.
Yeah.
All the parts are clean. And so what you'll find now, so when you pull that off, you're going to pull the harness, and you can actually see the harness from underneath there. So, and you should be able to thread that through. Actually, the other one came through, but there's a support right here, so that won't come all the way through. So, I'm going to have to disconnect it from under here. Pull it out. I'm going to have to.
Well, that was much easier than the fenders.
For sure. So we'll end up probably using these harnesses again. Most of the LED stuff will probably just fit right into these. There's little connectors because that's what they're designed to do. If not, then we can get the wiring diagram and actually figure out what wires go where, so we know how to use those. So, and we'll end up cutting, I think they're 4-inch So we'll end up cutting a 4-inch hole, so that'll be another episode. Look for that. Let's go over here. So all of the wiring is actually inside the tailgate, and it's behind this little plate. So we took that plate off. And Daimler Chrysler makes these, or made these back in the day. Actually did a pretty cool job with this switch and how these things are connected for the third brake light. It actually has just a contact here. It's got 2 large metal contacts here and 2 large metal contacts on the inside. So when the tailgate's closed, it completes the circuit, and there you have a third brake light. Well, I'm pretty certain that we're not going to be using this third brake light whenever we put the new mount on, new rear tire, all of that stuff for bumper. So we will probably end up just clipping this on the back side, making sure that we stuff it in there and we can get to it should we need to, and then we'll just have to put it back together with some connectors. But that's the only way we can actually remove that whole harness. There's not a particularly easy way to remove this harness and then get it disconnected. So that's what I'm going to do.
While Kevin's working on the brake light wiring, I'm removing the spare tire mount.
So I figured what I'd do is I'd just clip this thing right at the connectors that are on the other side of this tailgate just to make it easier. And this will be super easy if we need to reconnect everything. There's just a rubber grommet that runs through the tailgate. So I've just removed the rubber grommet, which will then actually make it possible to remove all of this stuff. And there we go. There's the third brake light. We will most likely not reuse this. Nice job.
Thanks.
While Michelle's working on this, I wanted to show you, we have been using just Ziploc bags to put each section of the bolts and screws and related stuff in there. I recently rebuilt my Denali motor, which means I had to pull the whole motor, tons of stuff out of there. And I made the mistake of not doing this, which means I had a pretty good memory, so I knew where everything went back, but it made it even that much more difficult. So doing this definitely makes it more organized. So we do this and then throw them in the cottage cheese containers like what we talked about. So Michelle's got a couple more rubber bumpers to remove, and we'll be good to go. Well, that's the last bolt for this episode, and you did an awesome job again, Michelle.
Thank you.
Did a great job. Obviously, everything is totally dirty, so we're going to need to get everything cleaned up, but we made great progress today. And in this episode, we got the front fenders done, we got the spare tire mount off, bumpers, hitch, brake lights, and so we're ready to put some more parts on once they get in. And so I wanted to say one thing real quick, that we do have a factory service manual. I've got it on computer. It's like 2,700 pages. But what we do a lot of times, what I do a lot of times when I'm disassembling stuff is sort of just look at it and just start taking stuff off, making sure you keep track of everything, like we just talked about with the baggies. And but basically, it was sort of a hide and seek kind of a way of doing things. You can look at things and sort of figure out what comes off. And then make sure you know how to put them back on. That's sometimes where the factory service manual comes about. So appreciate you guys joining us this week. Don't forget to check out teamsugarhigh.com for more information about what's going on with the rally, what's going on with the build. Make sure you check out our previous episodes as well, and don't forget to subscribe. It'll definitely make you a better mechanic and I think a better person. So I'm Kevin Davis.
I'm Michelle Davis.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great week.
Thanks. Bye. So I just wanted to point out that instead of nuts, there are retaining plates that are used to hold the bolts in place. These are them right here. And it kind of makes sense that there's no nuts because Sugar High's a girl.